Friends, this is the second video of wastewater treatment. First, we'll study about roughing filters. Roughing filters are a special type of trickling filters that are designed to operate at high hydraulic loading rates. These filters are mostly used to reduce the organic matter in downstream process besides nitrification applications. Due to high hydraulic loading, there is a continuous logging of biological film. In such a case, the unsettled filter effluent can be recycled and this increases the efficiency of the treatment process. The retention time on the biofilm, being less, organic materials that are not readily degradable remain unaffected. Rotating biological contractors. Let's know about rotating biological contractors, that is RBC. Rotating biological contractor is a recent device for the biological treatment of sewage. It operates on the principle of aerobic attached ground growth system operating on the moving media. RBC are suitable for the treatment of domestic and industrial sewage in small and medium towns. A rotating biological contractor is composed of a series of closely spaced and lightweight circular discs. They are made up of inert materials such as polystyrene and polyvinyl chloride (PVC) or polythene. These discs are mounted on a horizontal shaft in a tank through which wastewater flows. The shaft is rotated slowly by a low speed motor. The discs of the shaft, referred to as biodiscs, are particularly submerged in sewage. As the biodiscs are rotated, the biomass attached to them too is alternately submerged in sewage. This enables the disc to pick up a thin layer of sewage and then to oxidize the absorbed substrates. The unoxidized substrates fall back into the sewage and this process is repeated again and again by the rotating biodisc. Rotating biological contractor is basically a film flow bioreactor. The microbial biofilm is built upon the partly submerged support medium containing biodisc. The RBC is very efficient for the removal of organic matter in the sewage as and when there is an excess growth of biomass, it has to be removed. This process can be carried in a small fashion as it is done for the trickling filters. RBC are commonly used for the treatment of municipal wastewater. In addition, they are widely used for the biological processes of industrial waste coming from several industries such as vegetables, pulp, meat, and textiles. Factors affecting performance of RBC. The treatment process in RBC is influenced by rotation speed of shaft, wastewater retention time, temperature, disk submergence, organic loading, media density, and number of stages. Let's know about the advantages. RBC is a compact and requires moderate energy input. It has high biological oxygen demand (BOD), removal efficiency. Now come to disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? Disposal of sludge found is a major problem with RBC. The treatment process is frequently associated with odor formation. RBC operation requires skilled personnel. Let's know about packed bed reactors. Packed bed reactors or fluidized bed reactors are used for the removal of BOD and nitrification. A reactor is packed with a medium to which the microorganisms get attached and form biofilms. The sewage along with air is introduced from the bottom of the reactor. The main advantage with packed bed reactors is that they high surface area of film per unit of reactor. Anaerobic suspended growth treatment process. Anaerobic process basically involve the decomposition of organic and inorganic matter in the absence of oxygen. Anaerobic processing systems are important for the treatment of sludge and high strength organic sewage. Several reactor systems for anaerobic suspended growth treatment process have been developed. Among these, the complete mix anaerobic digestion process is most widely used for the treatment of sewage. Now, let's know about anaerobic digestion. Anaerobic digestion is mostly useful for the stabilization of concentrated sludge that are produced on the treatment of industrial sewage. The process of anaerobic digestion is carried out in an airtight reactor. Sludge is introduced continuously or intermittently in the high rate digestion system. The contents of the digester are heated and mixed completely, and it takes about 15 days for the process to be completed. Let's know about biodegradation of organic matter of sludge or sewage. The biological degradation of organic matter or sludge occurs in three stages: hydrolysis, acidogenesis, and methanogenesis. Now let's know about hydrolysis. In the enzyme catalytic reactions, high molecular weight compounds like proteins, polysaccharides, lipids, nucleic acids are degraded to low molecular weight compounds. Amino acids like amino acids, monosaccharides, fatty acids, purines, and pyrimidines. The latter serve as substrates for energy supply and microbial growth. Let's know about acidogenesis. The low molecular weight compounds are converted to acidic products, that is propionate, butyrate, lactate. Let's know about methanogenesis. This is the third and final stage and involves the production of methane and carbon dioxide from the intermediates formed in acidogenesis. Methane gas is highly insoluble, and its departure from the digester represents the stabilization of sewage or sludge. Now let's know about microorganisms to degrade organic matter or sludge. A consortium of anaerobic microorganisms work together for degradation of sludge organic matter. They may be categorized into two types. First is acid forming bacteria, second is methanogenic bacteria. Let's know about first acid forming bacteria. These are also known as acidogens or non-methanogenic bacteria. They bring out the hydrolysis of micromolecules like carbohydrates to simple substrates like monosaccharides to simple substrate, and the latter to acids. Example: Clostridium species, Corynebacterium species, Lactobacillus species, Acidomyces species, Staphylococcus species, Peptococcus anaerobus, Escherichia coli, like this, etc. Let's know about now second point is methanogenic bacteria. These bacteria are also responsible for the conversion of acetic acid and hydrogen to methane and carbon dioxide. The most important methanogens belong to the genera Methanobacterium, Methanobacillus, Methanococcus, and Methanosarcina. Now let's know about anaerobic contact process. Anaerobic contact process is carried out in a specially designed reactors. The treatment process consists of mixing of sewage with recycled sludge solids and then digestion under anaerobic conditions. After the digestion is complete, the supernatant effluent is discharged and the settled sludge is recycled. Anaerobic contact process is successfully used for the efficient industrial waste with high BOD, biological oxygen demand. Example: meat packing waste. like this. Let's know about anaerobic attached growth treatment processes. There are mainly two treatment processes under the anaerobic attached growth treatment system: anaerobic filter process. One is anaerobic filter process and second is expanded bed process. Now let's know about anaerobic filter process. Anaerobic filter consists of a column filled with solid media for the treatment of organic matter in sewage. In this process system, wastewater flows upwards through the column containing anaerobic bacteria. Due to the presence of solid media, the bacteria are retained in the column. This makes the treatment process more efficient. Now come to expanded bed process. The sewage can be treated by pumping it through a bed of inert materials, sand or coal expanded aggregates, on which the bacteria have grown and formed a film. The effluent that comes out can be recycled to maintain the flow rate. Now let's know about pond treatment processes. Pond treatment process for the treatment of sewage containing biodegradable waste are carried out by specially designed and constructed ponds. These ponds, referred to as a stabilization ponds, are large, shallow earthen basins. The treatment process is a natural one involving the combined use of bacteria and algae. The stabilization ponds are classified as anaerobic, aerobic, and facultative ponds. Now let's know about aerobic ponds. The aerobic ponds, as the name indicates, maintain complete aerobic conditions. These ponds usually have a depth of about 0.5 to 1.5 feet and allow the penetration of light throughout the liquid depth. A second type of aerobic ponds with a depth of 5 feet are also in use. In all these ponds, oxygen is maintained through continuous atmospheric diffusion by surface aerators or pumps, besides the production of algae growth in the pond. The aerobic stabilization ponds contain bacteria and algae in suspension. They are particularly useful for the treatment of soluble waste. The algae and bacteria exhibit a symbiotic and cyclic relationship in the aerobic ponds. The algae can carry out photosynthesis and release oxygen to maintain aerobic conditions in the pond. The aerobic stabilization ponds contain bacteria and algae in suspension. They are particularly useful for the treatment of soluble waste. The algae and bacteria exhibit a symbiotic and cyclic relationship in the aerobic ponds. The algae can carry out photosynthesis and release oxygen to maintain aerobic conditions in the pond. The bacteria degrade the organic matter to produce carbon dioxide and other nutrients to be utilized by algae. Some higher organisms like protozoa and rotifers present in the pond are responsible for the polishing of the effluent. Now let's know about factors affecting aerobic ponds. The species of the algae and bacteria present in the pond significantly influence the efficiency of the aerobic ponds. The other factors such as quality and quantity of organic material, degrade of pond mixing, nutrients, sunlight, pH, temperature are also important for the successful operation of these ponds. Now let's know about anaerobic ponds. Anaerobic ponds are useful for the treatment of high strength organic matter and solid containing sewage or wastewater. These ponds are completely devoid of dissolved oxygen. They are very deep so that heat conservation is possible, besides requiring minimum land area for production for ponds construction. When the sewage is added to the pond, precipitation and anaerobic conversion of organic waste to carbon dioxide, methane and other gases, organic acids, etc. occurs. Under suitable conditions, 75% of the BOD can be removed anaerobic ponds. The clarified effluent is usually discharged for further treatment. Let's know about facultative ponds. In facultative ponds, the treatment of sewage is carried out by a combination of both aerobic and anaerobic processes. Three types of microorganisms, that is aerobic, anaerobic and facultative, are employed in facultative ponds. The term oxidation pond or stabilization pond is frequently used for facultative ponds. First is surface area aerobic zone. The surface aerobic zone. It has the aerobic bacteria and algae existing in a symbiotic reaction relation. Now, second point is the bottom anaerobic zone. It contains anaerobic bacteria and solids that undergo decomposition. Now, third point is intermediate facultative zone. This zone is partly aerobic and partly anaerobic and contains both types, aerobic and anaerobic of bacteria. Now let's know about processes that occur in facultative ponds. The sewage organic matter is stabilized by both aerobic and anaerobic processes. The algae present in the aerobic zone carried out photosynthesis and release oxygen. The oxygen is utilized by the aerobic and facultative bacteria to oxidize soluble and colloidal organic matter. The organic solids present in the anaerobic zone, that means bottom sloghs, are degraded to dissolved organic compounds, that is organic acids and gases such as carbon dioxide, methane and sulfur gas. The organic acids can be oxidized by the aerobic bacteria, while the gases produced carbon dioxide, methane, sulfur, ammonia may be vented to the atmosphere. In fact, most of carbon dioxide is utilized by the algae for photosynthesis, while H2S combines with oxygen to form sulfuric acid. H2S plus 2O2 gives rise to H2SO4. In the absence of adequate oxygen in the upper layers of the pond, gases with unpleasant and foul odors are vented to the atmosphere. These foul smells often cause nuisance to the surroundings. It is generally possible to maintain good oxygen supply by the algae and facultative bacteria. Sometimes surface aerators are used to enhance the efficiency of facultative pond, that means particularly when the sewage contains high organic content. Now let's know about the advantage. For the facultative ponds, the initial and operating costs are low. There is no need for skilled personnel. Now let's know about disadvantages. Unpleasant odors and mosquito breeding are frequently seen in facultative ponds. The requirement of lands area for construction of the ponds is more. Let's know about tertiary treatment. Tertiary treatment or advanced treatment is sometimes needed for the removal of suspended and dissolved substances after the conventional primary and secondary treatments. In general, the effluent of the sewage obtained after secondary treatment can be conveniently disposed without causing any nuisance. However, tertiary treatment is needed under some points. Let's know the points. First point is when the quality of the effluent to be discharged does not meet the standard requirements, that means particularly in the developed countries. When second point is when there is a necessary to reuse the sewage or wastewater at that time, that means reclamation of water is quite expensive but is required in certain situations of water shortage. Third point is for the removal of nitrogen and phosphorus compounds. Tertiary treatment process broadly involves the removal of suspended and dissolved solids, nitrogen, phosphorus and pathogenic organisms. In the conventionally Hierarchy of sewage treatment. The unit operation are carried out in the order of preliminary, primary, secondary, and finally tertiary treatment process may be directly carried out bypassing the other unit operations. This mainly depends on the composition of wastewater and the requirements. There are four major processes under the tertiary treatment. First is solids removal, second is biological nitrogen removal, third is biological phosphorus removal, fourth is disinfection. Let's about let's know about the about brief about these points. Some authors use the term biological nutrient removal for the removal of nitrogen and phosphorus. Let's know about solids removal. The technique for the removal of suspended and dissolved solids in wastewater treatment is comparable with those employed for the process of potable water. Removal of suspended solids. The effluents obtained from secondary treatment may contain suspended solids in the size of 0.1 to 100 micrometer. The concentration of these solids is variable and is usually 20 to 40 microgram per liter. The removal of suspended solids is carried out by granular medium filtration and microscramming, sometimes diatoma osseous. Earth filters and coagulation cum sedimentation techniques are also used. Removal of dissolved solids. The dissolved solids can be removed mainly by two techniques, adsorption and ion exchange. Let's know about adsorption by activated carbon. Activated carbon is highly porous and provides large surface area for the adsorption of dissolved solids in the advanced treatment. The compounds that can be removed by adsorption include organic materials, that is herbicides, pesticides, tannins, leggings, color and odor and producing substances. Inorganic materials like toxic trash materials and several other pollutants. Let's know about granular activated carbon contractors. Granular activated carbon contractors are the most widely used for the advanced treatment of sewage. The GAC, granular activated carbon, consists of a tank, usually cylindrical, which is loaded with granular activated carbon. The wastewater or sewage is passed from top through the activated carbon bed and the effluent comes out from the bottom. The solid attached to the carbon bed hamper further adsorption process. These particles can be removed by backwashing. The activated carbon requires periodical regeneration. This can be done by heating in a furnace at about 800 degrees centigrade in the absence of oxygen. At this temperature, the adsorbed organic compounds are converted to gases and released. The carbon granulated are reactivated for reuse. Powered activated carbon (PAC) instead of granulated carbon is sometimes used for absorption process. PAC is added to an aeration tank which can adsorb several organic compounds. Now let's know about ion exchange for dissolved solids removal. Ion exchange involves the displacement of one ion by another. The ion exchange materials and the ions of different species in solution, that is wastewater for advanced treatment. The ion exchange process is carried out by employing two types of ion exchange materials, cations exchangers and anion exchangers. First is cation exchangers and second is anion exchangers. The synthetic resins with strong acidic H plus and OH minus functional groups serve as ion exchangers. The cation exchangers with H plus or Na plus can replace the positively charged ions Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus in water by hydrogen ions. This is what is done for removing the hardness of water. The ion, the anion, the anion exchangers without OH minus can remove negatively charged ions SO2 minus 4, SO4 2 minus, NO3 O3 minus 2 minus, O3 2 minus. The wastewater is first passed through a cation exchanger and then through an anion exchanger packed in two separate columns. When the ion exchange capacity of the resin is exhausted, it has to be regenerated for further use. For cation exchange resins, regeneration can be done with strong acids H2SO4, HCl, while for anion exchange resins, alkali NaOH is used. For an effective removal of dissolved solids by ion exchange, the wastewater should not contain high concentration of suspended solids as they block the ion exchange beds. Now let's know about biological nitrogen removal. Decomposition products of proteins and the urea present in sewage are the major constituents of biological nitrogen. Although nitrogen is a nutrient, its excess concentration causes eutrophication and thus its removal is required. Biological nitrogen removal (BNR) is carried out by the method based on some principles. Let's know about the principles. Two principles are there. First is assimilation of nitrogen. Second is nitrification and denitrification. Let's know about assimilation of nitrogen. Since nitrogen is a nutrient, the microorganism in the sewage can assimilate ammonia, nitrogen and grow. As some of these cells die, a portion of this ammonia nitrogen will be returned to the sewage. Let's know about nitrification and denitrification. Nitrification. Ammonia nitrogen first gets oxidized to nitrite NO2 minus by the bacteria Nitrosomonas species, and this is followed by further oxidation nitrite NO2 minus to nitrate NO3 minus by Nitrobacter species. The bacteria involved in nitrification are auxotrophs. The nitrification process is accomplished by aerobic suspended growth and aerobic attached growth systems. In general practice, nitrification is carried out along with BOD removal in the secondary treatment with suitable modifications. Trickling filters, rotating biological contractors, and packed towers can be used for nitrification processes. Now let's know about denitrification. The removal of nitrogen in the form of nitrate by converting to nitrogen gas is referred to as denitrification. This process occurs under anaerobic conditions and is brought out by certain genera of bacteria, Aerobacter, Bacillus, Brevibacterium, Lactobacillus, Micrococcus, Spirillum, Pseudomonas. These bacteria are heterotrophs and require no oxygen, but the presence of organic carbon is essential. The presence of even minute quantities of oxygen suppressed denitrification. The heterotrophic bacteria can reduce nitrate in some stages. Let's know about the stages. First is nitrate gives rise to nitrite. NO3 gives rise to NO2. NO3 minus gives rise to NO2 minus, gives rise to nitric oxide NO, then gives rise to N2O, that is nitrous oxide, gives rise to N2, that is nitrogen gas. The process of denitrification can be carried out by suspended growth and attached growth systems. The plug flow type of activated sludge system is commonly used. The flow diagram for the removal of biological nitrogen process in the figure primarily consists of the removal of organic carbon followed by nitrification, that is aerobic, and denitrification, that is anaerobic. Now let's know about biological phosphorus removal. Phosphorus in the sewage is mostly present in the form of orthophosphate and polyphosphate and organic bound Phosphorus. In fact, phosphorus is an essential nutrient for microorganisms. Thus, during the normal secondary treatment process, 10 to 30% of the sewage phosphorus is utilized by the microorganisms for the growth and energy purpose. Phosphorus removal from wastewater is required to control eutrophication and to maintain water quality. Now come to principle of phosphorus removal. The biological removal of phosphorus is based on the principle of exposing the microorganisms to alternating anaerobic and aerobic conditions. When the microorganisms are subjected to anaerobic conditions, they release the phosphorus content and form a sludge which is deficient in phosphorus. When this sludge is returned to an to aerobic tank of sewage treatment, the microorganisms accumulate large quantities of phosphorus in their cells. These microorganisms, when subjected to anaerobic conditions, release the phosphorus, and this cycle of alternating anaerobic and aerobic processes can be continued for the biological removal of the phosphorus. Acetobacter species are mainly responsible for the biological removal of phosphorus. Now let's know about the process of phosphorus removal. Based on the principle described above, described processing plants have been developed for the biological removal of phosphorus. Phosphate stripper process system used for this purpose is in the lowest is as this. The anaerobic phosphate stripper removes the phosphate and the resultant sludge is returned to aeration tank which takes large quantities of phosphorus. After sedimentation, the phosphorus enriched sludge again passes through the first strip and the cycle is repeated again and again. The phosphorus enriched supernatant that comes out of the phosphorus stripper is treated with lime to precipitate the phosphorus. The resultant liquid supernatant can be returned to the aeration tank for further treatment. Now let's know about disinfection. Disinfection broadly refers to the selective destruction or inactivation of disease-causing organisms. In the process of disinfection, all the organisms are not destroyed. This is in contrast to sterilization, which involves the destruction of all organisms. There are several waterborne diseases like typhoid, cholera, dysentery caused by bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens. The very purpose of disinfection is to control these diseases. Now, let's know about agents for disinfection. Disinfection is accomplished by using chemical and physical agents besides mechanical and radiation means. Chemical agents. Let's know about chemical agents. Chlorine and its compounds are most commonly used. The other chemicals, bromine, iodine, ozone, alcohols, phenols, heavy metals, hydrogen peroxide, alkalis, and acids are sometimes employed. After chlorine, bromine, and iodine are in use. In recent years, ozone as a disinfectant is gaining importance since it is very effective. Physical agents. Let's know about physical agents. Heat and light can be effectively used as disinfectants. Sunlight is in fact a good disinfectant. Now let's know about mechanical means. The pathogenic organisms can also be removed by mechanical means during the course of wastewater treatment. The processes involving screens, that is coarse and fine grit chambers and sedimentation can partly remove the disease causing organisms. Let's know about radiation means. The gamma rays emitted from radioisotopes can serve as effective disinfectants. Now let's know about characteristics of an ideal disinfectant. An ideal disinfectant should possess the possess some characteristics. Let's know about these characteristics. First is toxic to pathogens at low concentration. Second is soluble and stable in water. Third is non-toxic to man and higher organisms, cheap and easily available. Now let's know about disinfection with chlorine. Chlorine is a very widely used disinfectant as it satisfies the criteria of an ideal disinfectant. The most commonly used chlorine compounds are chlorine gas, calcium hypochlorite, sodium hypochlorite, and chlorine dioxide. The disinfection efficiency of chlorine depends on the number of microorganisms in the water being treated, pH and temperature. Let's know about sewage or wastewater treatment. The various treatment processes of sewage are preliminary, primary, secondary and tertiary. Let's know about the summary. Wastewater treatment of some industries. The characteristics of wastewater are highly variable depending on the industrial source, which in turn depends on the industrial activity. Thus, treatment of wastewater differs and this is largely dependent on the industry. Now, wastewater treatment for dairies. Dairy wastewater is polluted at various stages by the activities of dairy operation. This has to be appropriately treated before being discharged. This is essential to avoid water pollution. The processing of dairy waste water is carried out by a two-stage pond system. The treatment is first done in an aerobic pond and then in an anaerobic pond. The treated water coming out of the anaerobic pond is rich in nutrients, hence is useful for irrigation processes. At the end of the two-stage treatment, about 95% of the BOD material is removed from the wastewater. Let's know about wastewater treatment for distillery. The wastewater from distilleries mostly consists of dissolved oxygen and organic waste. The treatment is carried out by a two-stage bacterial oxidation in anaerobic reactors. The complex organic waste are first degraded to organic molecules. These molecules are further oxidized to smaller organic and inorganic compounds. The products formed in the first stage of bacterial oxidation will promote the growth and multiplication of new bacterial cells. This is advantageous for more efficient bacterial oxidation. Let's know about wastewater treatment for tannery. The wastewater from distilleries mostly consists of dissolved oxygen and organic waste. The treatment is carried out by two-stage bacterial oxidation in anaerobic reactors. The complex organic waste are first degraded to organic molecules. These molecules are further oxidized of smaller organic and inorganic compounds. Thank you.